Okay, let's dive in. We're talking today about something that feels almost impossible, right? Making education not just something you can access, but something you genuinely want to do. Maybe even a little addictive.
It's a huge challenge, yeah. Especially when you think about what else is on your phone. TikTok, games. So our mission here is to unpack the insights from a really interesting TED Talk by Louis von Ahn, the creator of Duolingo, and really understand the thinking behind building an education platform that millions actively want to use day after day.
Right. And it's fascinating because it all kind of stems from his own background. He was from Guatemala. And he saw firsthand how education often, it doesn't level the playing field.
Yeah.
Sometimes, he argues, it actually makes inequality worse.
That's such a powerful observation to start with. He saw that, if you're from a wealthy family there, you get the best education, helps you stay wealthy. But for so many others, even just learning to read is a huge hurdle. So education can actually widen that gap instead of closing it.
Yeah, and his own story really drove this home for him. His single mother, he said, spent basically everything she had so he could get a good education. That's what let him come to the U.S., get his Ph.D. And he really felt this obligation, this desire to make that kind of opportunity available to everyone.
Exactly. So you've got this powerful motivation, but education is massive. Where do you even start? And the first big strategic call they made was not starting with something like, say, basic math or literacy, which might seem obvious.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So not math, not reading first. They went with foreign languages. Why languages?
Two main reasons he gave. First, just the sheer number of people. There's something like 2 billion people globally trying to learn another language. And get this, about 80% of those are learning English. That's just an enormous potential user base right there.
2 billion. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Huge audience. What was the second reason?
It was about the direct economic impact, especially with English. He used this example. A waiter learns English. Suddenly, they can apply for a job at a hotel, maybe triple their income almost overnight. Compare that to, say, high school math. You learn algebra, maybe calculus, then physics. It takes more steps before you see that big economic payoff, like becoming an engineer. Learning English in many parts of the world can give you a much faster leg up.
Got it. So languages for the audience size and that quicker economic boost. Then the platform. Building schools everywhere. Obviously not feasible. Too expensive.
Exactly. Totally prohibitive. Luis realized the only way to reach potentially billions, especially in less wealthy regions, was using the tech they already have, are getting really fast, and that's smartphones. Most people have them now. It's growing. A mobile app was really the only way to scale affordably.
And to make that accessible, even people can't pay, they chose the freemium model, right?
Right.
Learn free with ads or pay to get rid of them.
Yes. And this is where he offered this really provocative idea. He actually frames this freemium model as a kind of wealth redistribution.
How so?
Well, think about who pays for the ad-free version. Mostly it's users in richer countries, the US, Canada, places like that, people who are relatively well off. And who uses it for free with the ads? Very often it's people in places like Brazil, Vietnam, his home country Guatemala, poorer countries generally. So he argues the people paying are essentially subsidizing the education of millions who can't or don't pay. The rich paying for the poor to learn.
Huh. That's a really interesting take on a business model. Ties right back to his original motivation. But okay, you've made it free, you've put it on phones, now you hit that massive wall.
Yeah.
The phone itself, your little education app, is sitting right next to.
The most addictive things ever created. TikTok, Instagram, Candy Crush, whatever it is. They are designed to grab and hold your attention.
Louis had that great analogy. It's like trying to get someone to eat broccoli.
Yeah.
When it's sitting right next to the most amazing chocolate cake you've ever seen.
Exactly. On a phone, just being accessible isn't enough, not even close. You absolutely have to make people want to choose your app, want to choose learning, over all that other stuff competing for their time.
So the big insight, the core strategy was, well, if you can't beat them, join them. Sort of.
Kind of. Use the same psychological tricks. Take the techniques that make social media and games so sticky, so engaging, those dopamine loops, the notifications, the rewards, and apply them to education.
Make the broccoli taste like dessert.
Yeah, that's the goal. Harness those powerful engagement mechanics for something, beneficial like learning.
And Duolingo is famous for this now. The streak is probably the prime example. That little flame, the number, counting your consecutive days.
Oh, it's incredibly powerful for building habits. Just putting that number right there, making it visible. People get really invested. They come back just because they don't want to lose that streak, see it go back to 0. It's amazing.
He said they have over 3 million daily users with streaks over a year long, 365 days plus.
It's incredible, isn't it, that level of consistent daily engagement with learning?
Yeah. And he had that funny aside about average streaks being longest in Japan and shortest in Latin America. Said maybe Latin Americans are just more fun.
Ah, yeah. Notifications are another big one. But they had to be smart about it. People learning often do want reminders, but you can't just spam them. So they built this sophisticated AI system.
Right, to figure out the perfect timing, the perfect message.
Yep. And after all that complex AI work, the biggest finding was surprisingly simple.
Just send it 24 hours after they last used the app.
Pretty much. The logic being, well, if you were free at 4 p.m. yesterday, you're probably likely to be free around 4 p.m. today, too. Seems obvious now, maybe.
But they also learned when to back off. If someone's inactive for, 7 days?
7 days, yeah. The notifications just stop, which led to probably their most famous notification.
The passive-aggressive one.
The passive-aggressive masterpiece.
These reminders don't seem to be working.
Well, stop sending them for now.
Yeah.
And it works. He said people come back. Even works on his own mom.
It's brilliant. It makes you feel like Duo, the owl mascot,
Yeah.
is disappointed in giving up on you.
Exactly. It tapped into something emotional. And that whole thing, the memes, the owl, the street guilt, it shows they succeeded, right?
Yeah. Becoming part of internet culture, getting parodied on SNL, like that meme about Duo showing up at your window if you miss Spanish class.
Right, the intruder alert vibe. It means they actually did make people want to engage. They made learning kind of cool, or at least talked about.
But he did add a really important point of nuance here. He doesn't actually think education apps can ever be quite as engaging as, say, TikTok.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's just hard. How do you make learning verb conjugations as instantly gratifying as watching, funny cat videos?
Okay, fair point. So if it can't be quite as addictive, how does it still work so well? How do they get millions of users?
This was key. He believes you don't need to be 100% as engaging because learning offers something most mindless scrolling doesn't. Meaning, a sense of purpose, of accomplishment. When you actually learn something, acquire a skill, it feels meaningful in a way that maybe scrolling Instagram for an hour doesn't always. Sometimes you finish that and feel like you just wasted time.
Oh, okay. So the learning itself provides some of the motivational fuel that pure entertainment lacks.
Exactly. He estimated you only need your educational product to be maybe 80%, 90% as engaging as the top entertainment apps. That last 10 or 20% of motivation comes from the learner themselves, from the inherent value and meaning they get from learning.
So use the addictive techniques to get them 80-90% of the way there, and the intrinsic value of learning bridges the final gap.
That's the idea, and if you hit that sweet spot, you can achieve massive scale.
And the scale is definitely massive. He threw out that stat. More people learning languages on Duolingo in the U.S. than in all U.S. high schools combined.
And apparently that's true in most countries, which is just staggering.
So the vision now is to take these techniques, this understanding, and apply it beyond languages.
Yeah, especially to other subjects where repetition and practice are really central to learning.
Things like learning to read, or basic math in elementary school.
Right.
Stuff you learn by doing it over and over.
Precisely. Those areas are ripe for this kind of gamified, habit-forming approach. The bigger hope is, a future where screen time isn't automatically seen as a negative thing, where a good chunk of it could actually be spent on really high-quality, accessible education that helps everyone, no matter where they come from.
What about subjects that aren't just drills, though? Like understanding complex physics concepts or, history?
Yeah, he touched on that in the Q&A. He acknowledged this gamified repetition model isn't perfect for everything. For subjects that need more explanation, more conceptual understanding, you might need different tools, like maybe really good instructional videos. He mentioned Sal Khan, for instance.
Okay, so it's not a silver bullet for all of education, but potentially very powerful for a big part of it, especially foundational skills.
Right. So wrapping it up, the core idea is really using these powerful psychological hooks from games and social media, but applying them thoughtfully to make learning, particularly the repetitive parts, genuinely engaging, making it accessible on phones, and actually making it something people choose to do, even with all the other distractions out there.
It's a really compelling approach, and it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? If these techniques are that good at shaping behavior, What does it really mean when we apply them to something as positive as education?
Yeah, what kind of possibilities does that open up? Are there any maybe hidden downsides or things we should watch out for when we gamify learning itself?
And maybe for you listening,
Mm-hmm.
how does this change how you think about your own screen time? Or the digital tools you might use for learning or just, well, engaging with information from now on? Something to mull over.